Hello, hello, and welcome to day 21 of the Fall for Watercolor Challenge. Today we're going to be painting a black cat, and for brushes, I have my size 10 Infinity Arts brush. I picked this one because it's really nice and soft, and while she doesn't sell these anymore, like a mop brush would be great, or a quill brush, something that we can really quickly and easily cover the background of our palette or our painting paper. So I think a size 10 for me is going to work really well, but you could also use like any kind of wash brush or something that's very absorbent. Then I'll be using my I have my little splatter and bloom brush. This is a size 4 round brush. And then for details today, I have a size 2 round brush. It's Velvet Touch by Princeton Brushes. So that's what I'll be using today in terms of the brush category. And what we're going to be focusing on is doing a wet and wet layer and then a drier layer on top of that to give our little kitty some nice texture. So what we're going to do first is we are going to wet this background layer. Make sure that your water is clean, okay? And what we're looking for in terms of texture of this water is we definitely want it to be able to stay wet longer. So if you are one of those folks who have been having like kind of some drier climates or trouble with your paints drying out, you might want to add a little bit more water, but we don't want it to be like a whirlpool in there, okay? So we definitely want it to be wet, but we don't want the paint to be like slopping around. So a nice thick sheen that if you tilt the page, it doesn't start to well up on any of the edges. So like you wouldn't see any buildup of water. So you can kind of tip it and see if any of the shiny bits are kind of starting to get like look like a little, I don't know, like when you're about to cry and the tears well up at the base of your eyelid, like that. Okay, so then you're gonna wanna use some black, and I don't really have a black, so I probably should have mixed this up ahead of time, but I'm gonna mix up a quick black with some of my Payne's gray and then some of this orange that I have over here. So I've got like my alizarin gold and then some of my Hansa yellow deep that I'll use here to create my black. Okay, yes. And it's got kind of like a purpley vibe, which I'm okay with. So what we're going to do is we are going to create the shape of our kitty. And I'm going to have it kind of sitting. So here's going to be where its head is. Okay. And I really like keeping this kind of fuzzy. All right. And so then it's going to have like a little pear body. Okay. And it's okay if the water is going out, like that's going to give it that fuzzy feel. Okay. It's got kind of like its little rump, and then let's have its tail kind of like that. Okay. It's a little chonky baby. I want its head a little bit bigger. And maybe some ears. And the cool thing about this is as it is wet, we can really play around with this wet and wet technique. So I might make the background of her like a little bit darker. So I'm dropping in a little bit more color here along the back, maybe a little bit under her chin, and maybe a little bit like down here where the paws would be, okay? In addition to dropping in darkness, we can also add in lightness by getting a clean brush. So I'm probably going to grab my size 4, okay, and I'm going to just dip it in some water. I'm going to gently tap it on my paper towel to get out some of the excess. But I just want to drop in a little bit of water, like right here, kind of at the cat's forehead, and that's going to introduce some lightness right there. And then maybe a little bit on its tummy, okay? So same thing, tap my paper towel first. And if you're like, oh, I want it a little bit more light, you can kind of lift up some of that color. But I don't want to lift up too much because I want to keep this really juicy, okay? And I might do like a little highlight right here on the shoulder. And you can go, like as the paint is drying, you can really continue to micromanage this. So I might get my smaller brush and add in even some more kind of dark elements. I'm tapping. I don't want like a ton of moisture here because there's already a lot of moisture on the page. So I've tapped my brush to my paper towel first. And I think we're probably going to get like a lot of, this is kind of like it's around its leg. I kind of want those 4 paws to be like emphasized. So right here in the armpit, I'm adding some extra color. And then right here under its chin. Okay. And then maybe like a little bit where its leg might be kind of kicked up, and then definitely back here at the tail. And you can see we're just gently building up this color here. And I love how the edge is really wiggly, because then as we add in our second layer, it's going to be like, so good. Okay. Maybe like, let's do like a little pink by the ears. So I'm using my permanent rose. And again, I don't want this to be like super duper pink. So I'm getting like a really light wash of this permanent rose. And I'm just going to do a little bit right there and right there. And I realized I kind of want a little bit around like for the nose and tongue. So I'm going to add a little bit more there. I might even go in and add a little water there too to even bring it a little brighter. Kind of spread that out. Okay, cute, cute, cute. That's super fun. Maybe just a little bit more darkness on that booty and the tail. Just a little bit. Woo! Okay, that was very dark. So let's too much. So I'm gonna I take my damp brush and now I'm just kind of tippity tapping that to just even it out a little bit, because that was an aggressive move. Okay. All right. Alrighty. And if you are enjoying these tutorials and you're a cat person, I don't know if you know this, but we have a Cozy Cats watercolor kit, which is super fun. So it has all the silly cute cats in different positions and stuff. And it comes with some brushes, it comes with paints and video tutorials that I walk you through step by step. So if that's interesting to you, definitely go check it out. Make sure you check back in your emails for the Fall for Watercolor challenge discount code, because you all are getting 20% off if you're part of the challenge, which is super exciting. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more under the chin, the chinny chin chin, like right there, and maybe just a little bit kind of right there, and like a little bit kind of where the eyes are, but then I kind of want to have like a little bit of lightness where the actual eye is. So let's just do, okay. That'll give us a chance to kind of do some eyes. All right, so now I'm gonna let this dry naturally, okay? The reason why I don't wanna use a blow dryer is because it's gonna push some of this paint around. So if you think about the blow dryer, it's great because it speeds it up, but it will take the paint on its own journey. So I'm gonna pause it and then I'm gonna keep this here. So when you play it, as you're watching it, notice how it kind of ebbs and flows as it's drying. It'll be a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna try not to change my conditions at all so you can really enjoy how this little cutie pie dries. All right, see you in a sec. All right, so I totally went and got coffee, obviously, duh. And okay, this is gonna be like a slight little advertisement. But I don't know if y'all have heard me talk about these, but these are little coffee dusts. And the only reason, like, I don't rep anything unless I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And so I am an affiliate for them and I get like a little kickback if you order something. So I'll leave the link below, but just if you're into coffee or all things fall, like all these little things, like what is coffee dust, Kate? Okay. So it's like, looks like the salt pigments, but this one is edible. It's kind of like a little cinnamon mixture, but you just sprinkle it in your coffee. And I use like one of those little stirry things. And it just adds this nice little edge to the coffee. Oh my God, I got it on my painting. This one is Cocoa Calm. My favorite is gingerbread or the Captain's one. Anyway, the link is below. You can put it in oatmeal. You can put it in anything at all. I don't want to spam you or anything, but I just really like it. And thought I'd share it with you. Okay, anyway, enough coffee. Cool. So we have our cat. It's dried. I tried to um, kind of like leave it and let it do its thing. As you can see, it's like dispersed quite a bit. It has just kind of done its thing. So this is going to be like a really wild cuckoo cat. And I'm excited. So what we're going to do is we're going to add on some layers to this painting. And I like to start, slow and steady. As we're painting this, I want you to think about painting shapes instead of painting a cat. Okay, so I'll kind of talk you through the shapes and we're going to just give the essence of a cat. So we'll start with its ears. So we'll start from the top and kind of work our way down. And you can always get darker. So if you're a little apprehensive, you can start light. So add a lot of water and a little bit of paint. But yes, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of do like a little 7 here. And then kind of something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to give the shape of the ear. Maybe it's some little I don't know, some little fuzzies. All right, now that I have my little shape, I'm just gonna soften this inside by using a dry or like little damp brush and just kind of tickling that edge. All right, next we're gonna do under the chin. So you've sort of already darkened this. So kind of at the top of where that dark line goes, we're gonna just do like a little boat, the underside of a boat, okay? Just kind of like that. And then I'm going to do like a little shadow. Just kind of like that. And as we've done that, ooh, almost put in my coffee. Okay. Now that we've done that, we're going to soften that edge too. So I've taken my brush, I've gotten it a little wet. And then I'm just wiggling the edge along that shadow that I've made. Okay. And I might kind of take some of this with my dry brush and just give some little frisky whiskies. Okay. All right, now let's do the other ear. Okay. So I'm going to do kind of like a little whoop, whoop, whoop. Give it some like tufty ears, okay? And we've got kind of our little 7. And then let's like do something like that to really give a shape to that side of the face. Like that's kind of bigger than I was planning on, but that's okay. And then let's do a little bit on top. Just, you can do some little tufty furs. And then I really want to kind of do that over here. So I'm just doing some little whiskies. And then I'm going to soften that interior edge with my brush, with like a damp, clean brush. Okay. We've got our little hat or head, whatever. All right, let's work a little bit on the body. We'll add facial details in a little bit. So his or her legs are, so I kind of want to think about the chest, and I'm just going to be bold here and do that. So we're doing like a long line. And then I'm going to get kind of fuzzy on the edge here, just kind of, woo, getting crazy. So the way that I did that is I painted my long line, okay? And then I got my brush clean and damp, and then I just kind of did this motion to give that little fuzzies around the edge. And this is going to give us some definition around this leg. I kind of wish I had done a little bit. So if you're like, oh, it's too much, I'm kind of lightening it up over there. And then I'm going to get my paper towel. And I'm sort of trying to push with a clean brush that paint over to the side because I went a little too far. Okay. I like it. Clearly I'm not a cat person. I am allergic, so I don't really know what. Okay. The feet are okay. That's the thing that's happening. Okay. Let's do the other leg or the other paw. All right, so I'm going to come over here from the shoulder and do kind of the same thing. We're going to give some definition to that side. Like here, it's kind of sitting up and its butt is kind of like back there. So I'm going to turn my page so that I can get that nice little tufty outside edge. See, this one's maybe a little bit lighter. Okay. And then I'm just softening this line here. She's looking real silly right now, but don't worry. It will all come together, I promise. Okay. All right, mixing up a little bit more of my black here. Now I kind of want to do her butt. So I'm just going to do like a little line like this, just kind of tufty little, it's kind of following a curve. Okay. You with cats probably are more familiar with this shape of the curve of their back. Then I'm going to take my clean, I just cleaned it off in my water. I'm going to take my clean, dry brush, damp brush. So I kind of just tapped it lightly. And I'm going to run my brush gently over this edge here. Okay. And that's going to really soften those little furry bits from the rump into the body of the cat. And I'm really liking this depth here. Things in the background are going to be, in this case, a little bit darker because it kind of brings the face and the body more into light. And you know what? That's kind of creeping up on that line from the arm, and I'm okay with that. Okay. So now we've got the shape of our little cutie pie. The tail, I don't know. I might, let's see. I think maybe I'll do the same thing. I kind of want to make the tail like a little purple to give it just some kind of depth to going backwards. Okay, so I've got a nice juicy little tail here. And right now that looks so silly, but let's take our damp brush and just kind of like flutter that edge, okay? Okay, my damp brush. And I love how you can see the underside of all that cool blendy blend from the first layer. And then this is giving a little bit more definition and shape. So, oh yes, look at that too. So cute. Okay. And there are lots of ways to approach painting cats. If you are interested in doing a deep dive into animal portraiture, I really recommend one of my friends who's doing, she just released a cat portrait class. So she'll go over a bunch of different cat breeds, and then she has one for dogs. So she has Windswept Designs, and her tutorials are great. So I highly recommend that if you're really enjoying this process and you want to learn more about like painting more like realistic looking animals. Okay. Quick coffee sip. Okay, so let's do, we're going to do a little bit here kind of on the underbelly to define that, that arm. And what we're going to do here, so instead of painting the edge of the fur, what we're going to be doing is painting the opposite. We're going to be painting the negative space. So we're going to come in and kind of do, like, imagine you're painting the edge of the arm hair, okay? And we'll just kind of blend this into the middle. So this is like its arm. And by painting the edge of it, because we can't add, because of the way that watercolor layers, let me think about how I want to say this. Because of the way that watercolor layers, we can't really just add paint on top of the arms over and over and over again. So the way that we work around that to kind of keep some areas light is we paint in the negative space darker. Okay. So here we're starting to kind of get the sense of arms. These are the armpits. It's always like a dark part of the cat. So let's go ahead and do that over on this side where we can get a little bit more definition of its like shoulder. So again, we're going to be painting like where the cat is not. Okay. And we'll kind of feather out this little kitty edge with a clean, damp brush. Okay. All right. It's a little crazy, but that's okay. I will say that doing a quick and dirty tutorial of a pet portrait is definitely outside my comfort zone. I take forever to do animal portraits because I just really like to be laborious about it, I guess. So I'm doing the same thing to this side of this arm so that we can really define that. Okay. And then I'm just going to blend this layer out like so. And we'll do that also on the catch or rump. Let's actually do like a little shaggy kind of collar. And I feel like pets also often have like a very distinct ugly stage when you're painting. So just be forewarned. But yeah, I think this is kind of giving you a sense of how you might build up a painting of an animal. And it is like a really helpful technique of learning how to leave white space. Let's go see when you might be painting. Maybe I'll add a little shadow here, just like something like that to kind of situate our kitty in space. Okay, let's do a kind of fuzzy tail or something. All right, let's see. So let's work on that face. So I'm going to get to my smaller brush here because we're doing more details. I'm going to zoom in. And sorry, this is kind of a longer one. I told you it would be worth it. Did I tell you that? I don't know, but I think it's worth giving attention because people like to paint their animals. So I'm going to do a little bit around the eyes, okay? Not a ton. And you can even add, now that we've got our darker brush, you can even add a little bit more definition around the ears, some little whiskeries. I'm just kind of doing the under eye, and then I'll do a little bit right here on the over eye. Maybe darken that a little bit in with my little blending technique. And then we're going to do a nice kind of light watered down version of our black. And I'm going to paint around the nose. Okay. And kind of just, so I do like a little upside down triangle and a little line down. And then you do the little smiley lips and then little like bleh face. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our brush, our little brush, and we're just going to soften that line around and kind of darken, pull that dark paint out to the edges. And this is going to start building up. We're keeping the light space. So think about you're just kind of spreading that dark paint out throughout the rest of the face so we don't have these hard brush lines. Okay, looks really creepy right now, doesn't it? But it's getting there. And if you want to kind of darken it, now that we have that little wet zone, you can just drop in some water. Okay. And I think I want some more whiskers over here. Why not? Cute, cute, cute. Let's add some more over here. You know, it's coming together. Is it like my favorite thing I've ever painted? No, but that's okay. And this is still a little dark under here, so I'm just adding a little bit of shadow while I'm waiting for the face to dry a little bit more. Adding a little bit of definition around the edge of the cat. And maybe a little bit like of a kind of toe bean shadow, you know? And then I think I want to do like a little bit, it's like leg is probably kind of hunched up, you know, like something in there. It's a little toe bean in the background. All right. And then let's see. Let's do maybe a little bit more here. And if your face has already dried, that's okay. Just get a little damp brush and we're just going to spread it out. Okay, spread out. All right, now I'm going to grab some of my olive green for the eyes. I'm going to be really careful not to let it bleed into the parts. Well, as I said, really careful, and I just did, so it's okay. So I'm going to leave that there. Let's see. This is looking a little strange, but don't worry. Yeah, we're not going to worry. Let's see. And so now we're just going to focus on like building up some of those darker values. So I'm going to do a little bit under his chin again. Got some kind of wet and wet action. These are going to be like where the darkest spots are. And I'm just dabbing in some color. Got like a dark blue. So thinking about where the shadows would be, it's going to be kind of in this armpit, kind of underneath his booty. Right here where like the leg is kind of up, and then down here around the edge of his butt before we get into the tail. And I think I want a little bit more definition maybe around the ears just to kind of give it some oomph. And let's add a little bit, maybe, just kind of. And the way that I'm getting my brush to be really thin for these whiskers is I will kind of flatten it on my palette like this, and then turn it on the other side so it kind of squeezes it into like a little point, and I'll use the side of the brush that I just flattened. Oops. Okay, let's see. See how we're doing here. All right. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. Okay, I want to wait for this to dry a little bit more. I feel like this side got kind of weird, like too far out. So what I can do is just bring those little whisker flips in a little bit to help give me a little bit more of the shape that I want. A couple little whiskers in there. Oop, it's still a little wet and wet, so I gotta wait. But I bet I could do like the little eyebrows, And if this is like, this would be a great place to use like a pen too, if you wanted to provide some of that definition, if you want. Now I'm just gonna add got a little nice amount of paint on my brush. So I'm just adding some really small little texture lines to our tail. And I think wanting to practice this a little bit because I think I'm going to do this on the arms too. Okay, to give it a little bit of texture. So just thinking about which way the fur would be going. Just kind of sticking out. This cat's, scrappy little gal. She's been around the block a few times. Little feet here. A little more definition to that. I don't want to get too into painting every piece of fur, but this is kind of a good way to. I just want to soften those legs because they're just feeling really forward. So I'm giving them a little texture here. My brush is kind of dry, and so just squeegeeing that over the painting. Let's add a little more to the foot. Kind of a shadow underneath. Maybe a little bit more on the tum-tum. And okay, let's add a little bit more definition to the face. So I'm going to do a little bit of detail around the eyes. It's like a little bit of a cat eye shape. Okay. And the pupil. So they don't really have like white, their eyes. So you can really make that pupil take up a lot of room. Then I'm gonna use my brush a little bit like an outliner here, just around the bottom part of the nose and like where that little mouth is. That's gonna make it look a lot cuter. Just a little bit at the bottom. Okay. Now I might do a couple more whiskers. Do, do, do. Oh man, that really doing the eyes really helps. I feel like this always happens when I paint animals. I'm like, oh God, what have we done? It looks so weird. And then it's like, oh yeah. Okay, this is a thing that doesn't seem so scary. It's a little cross-eyed, but that's okay. And all right, I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of pinky pink to the nose, just like just a little pop. Okay, just kind of underneath, and just a little bit in here in the ears, a little cutie cute, a little bit right here, the mouth. Okay, and there's our kitty cat. Should we do some yarn just because? Why not? Okay, let's do a little bit of yarn. I'm just going to make a kind of wiggly ball over here. Okay, fill that wiggly ball in. And then you're going to take your ballerina paintbrush. Okay, you're going to go on your tippy toes with your ballerina paintbrush. And we're just going to draw your little yarn wherever. And it's okay if it's kind of sketchy. It can be, I mean, you also don't even have to do it. Okay, it's going to go behind her. I just feel like the composition needed a little bit of, oh my gosh, it got around her tail. This is crazy. She's a wild one, this little kitty cat. All right, I like that. We're gonna just let this ball of yarn dry a little bit. If you wanted to kind of add some little hash, like crisscross lines on it to give the feeling of like the wrappings of the wine. Where's my mind? You can totally do that. That would be a really fun way to add just a little more detail if you wanted to do that with a pen or something too, or even a smaller brush. Okay, this little rascal. I think she's ready to go. What a cutie pie! All right, this was a really excuse me. This was a really long one, but there was a lot to go over. If you're interested in learning more about pet portraits, again, my friend at Windswept Designs has really great tutorials about that. I'll try to remember to put the link in the video below, description below. But if you want me to go more into this kind of stuff, I've been itching to paint some animals recently, so that might be something I could do in the future. So let me know in the comments below, and happy painting.